Hi there, Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. I'm very excited to talk about this because it's important for everyone who is aware of and sensitive to what is happening in the world of ADA compliance, web compliance specifically, because guys, excuse me, it's not just about passing a test or avoiding penalties or a lawsuit when it comes to really thinking about providing access to online content for all individuals, regardless of their abilities. I think that's what it really boils down to. I'm very proud of the fact that our firm for more than a decade has worked with the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, who is really an advocate for across the state of Florida when it comes to providing a better life with persons with disabilities. So, the governor signed into recognition resolution that March would be recognized as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And again, I'm very proud that our staff will be on the steps of the Capitol in Tallahassee, Florida tomorrow. We've been working on for several months leading up to this media and marketing efforts to raise awareness when it comes to providing and advocating for just really the best life possible for all people, regardless of their abilities. But when we're talking about web compliance, it's interesting. I looked back at the history of the podcast and the video, and I noticed that in early February of this year, I did a podcast and I mentioned, and some of you may have not caught that episode, but in 2018, there was a significant increase in ADA web accessibility lawsuits that were filed in federal court. So in 2017, there were 814 cases filed. In 2018, there were 2,285 cases filed in federal court. That is a 181% increase in suits that were filed. And that number is reported by UsableNet. I think that it's important to recognize that there were, in that report, there were 5 states that were the most, the largest amount of cases that were submitted. New York and Florida were the major spots or the major states. Pennsylvania, Texas, and California were also made the top 5 in terms of the lawsuits that were filed. Guys, here's what something needs to get on your radar. So if you find yourself in the retail business world, so if you have a brick and mortar store where the public comes in to purchase products and goods, your industry represented 38% of the ADA web compliance lawsuits that were filed in 2018. If you are in the food service industry, your industry represented 11% of lawsuits. If you are in the travel or hospitality industry, your industry represented 10%. If you're in banking or finance, your industry represented 7%. And then also tied with banking was entertainment and leisure. So what this really means is that if you have a bakery or a grocery store or any place that people can come and buy goods or services, clothing, any retail organization and you have a website and you talk about your products or services on your website, if you don't provide ample consideration and accessibility tools for someone to access your website, you are potentially positioning yourself to not provide them access to the content, and ultimately you're opening yourself up to penalties or a lawsuit being brought to you. I mean, think about food service. I mean, if you're a restaurant, if you're a bar owner, if you're a hotel, if you are, obviously a place where people come as a destination point, banking. I mean, a lot. Entertainment and leisure. I mean, I think about bars, restaurants, sporting events. All of those things are part of the largest group segments that were affected in 2018 by ADA web compliance lawsuits. So, I mean, the question is 2019, are things going to relax? Well, no, probably not. The Department of Justice is not going to probably be able to quickly clear up rules and eliminate the gray areas. I can't imagine that Congress is going to pass laws quickly. So, we're still going to have this issue. The other thing is, that as our, society grows in size and population, the number of people, persons with disabilities is going to continue to increase. I mean, if you look at U.S. Census data that shows that we've got on average, people who are, obviously if you're in your 30s to 60s, with a hearing difficulty, you might be less than 10%. But once you cross over into 65 and up, you can go upwards to nearly 30%. Vision difficulties being reported. Again, we're below the 10% vision difficulty again if you're in that, but still picking up, from 18 years to 35 years and so on. I mean, the fact is that our society as a whole, we have lots and lots of people who are impacted and affected by whether it's a cognitive illness or disability, or if it's, whether it's mental or physical impairment. There's a large group of people who we need to recognize them as a person and recognize their abilities, and make sure that we can create the best experience for them. So one of the things I want to talk about, so we're working on several projects right now for clients who have had lawsuits brought against them and they need to redo their website. And so we're working with them to work through some of these content issues and think about what are some of the traps, if you will. And what I mean by a trap is get stuck. So if a person who's trying to utilize screen reader technology, and I don't mean that it's literally reading the words on the screen. I'm talking more about assistive technologies that is determining what the content is. So one of the biggest traps or blocks or areas that they get stuck on is drop-down menus. So when their browser, so the biggest function for a person with disabilities, when they go to a website, they use a lot of keyboard shortcuts to be able to navigate. And so tab is pretty much the universal button to get started. It's what activates many of the different computer software technologies that can help them navigate websites. And when a person encounters a drop-down menu, this creates a problem because essentially they're stuck and they can't. Their browser experience stops at that point. It can't activate a drop-down menu. So this is important. It's important to have a piece of technology that can open that for them when that tab section comes to that. And that kind of technology is available. And it's not a huge expense. And it's something that we're deploying for our clients as this technology and the demand for this kind of experience online has become available. So, and again, we've got the accessibility tool active on our website. If you're curious to see what it looks like, I encourage you to go to rboa.com. R is really be bright online attention, rboa.com. Yeah, so if you go to our website, you'll see a little blue icon with the symbol on it. You can click on it and you can get an idea of what it looks like. But drop-down navigations are a real potential issue. And for a website that has a lot of content, maybe you have lots of resources, or maybe you have varying departments, or you have different kinds of menus if you're a restaurant. Drop-down menus are a very easy way to navigate and create, menu optimization and people to navigate your content. But it creates a problem if you don't have the right accessibility tools on your website. Another issue are pop-ups. I don't like pop-ups anyway if they're done incorrectly. But pop-ups also cause a problem for persons with disabilities, because again, what happens is if I go and it requires a click for me to open up this menu, maybe you have some great information for me, and if I click on it, it creates that pop-up. The problem is I basically lose all my browser capabilities from that point forward, and I can't get back. I can only navigate or tab through your form fields if that's what your pop-up is. And then once I submit that, a third sort of trap besides the pop-up itself is if one of your fields I left incomplete or didn't complete it, if I try to hit the back button, it doesn't take me back to the top of the form and let me work my way through it. It's going to pick the most the one with the most variables. That's what it picks. It's really odd the way the back button works in terms of trying to figure out forms. And so what ends up happening is I could get sent like somewhere in the middle of the form, and imagine if I have little to no sight, if I'm legally blind and I'm trying to work through a form, even a 10-field form, if you send me halfway through it and then I have to rework my way through, that's really, really difficult for that person. And maybe that information that you have them filling out the form for, maybe it's really vital. Maybe there's some really good information. And so you're preventing them from access to that very important resource. So I think it's really important that we understand, and that we as we should all be advocates of persons regardless of their abilities, and especially as web developers. I want to hold myself to a higher standard. The same way my firm has worked with the Florida Developmental Disabilities Councils for more than a decade, to help raise awareness to an environment and in a world where everyone is provided access to whether it's products or services or content online. It's important. So those are the things that I wanted to talk to you about today. And again, I think it goes back to, if you're just catching on to today's topic, today's podcast, ADA, the American Disabilities Act, I believe that was enacted, I want to say 1974, if that's correct. Believe that is correct. 74, 94. American Disabilities Act, Google it. The fact of the matter is they really didn't know, we didn't know how incredible the internet was going to be, and how much it was going to impact our lives, and how much we were going to rely upon it. to find locations near us and to find products and services that help us live everyday life. So if you're a business, if you're an organization, and again, I want to go back to these 5 core industries that were affected by the increase, 181% increase in ADA compliance lawsuits filed in 2018, 181% increase, over 2,000 suits. Number 1, retail business. Number 2, food service business. Number 3, travel and hospitality. Number 4, banking and finance. And then lastly, entertainment and leisure. So if you know someone that runs or owns or operates or manages a business like that, and you're hearing this podcast today, please, I hope you'll share it. I hope you'll tag them, because that's one of the ways we can raise awareness. For all of those of you who have watched and joined today, please share this video on your timeline. I don't really care. I'm not trying to sell services or what have you. This is really about awareness. These tools that are available, whether you purchase them from us or directly, it doesn't matter. What's important is the technology is there. It can be deployed very quickly, and we can all make sure that access to online content is accessible for everyone, regardless of their ability. So I want to just encourage everyone today to share this, to think about this. If you live in Tallahassee, Florida, and you're going to spend some time or be available tomorrow to join us at the Capitol for Developmental Disabilities Day, I hope you will. Again, we want to bring about awareness and help, just really advocate on behalf of all persons who live in the state of Florida and who we want to see have access to and have a quality of life that they should, just like the rest of us. So guys, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you will continue to tune into our video and podcast as we talk about different strategies, whether they be digital marketing, whether they are growing your business from the inside out. Again, I just greatly appreciate the opportunity. My name is Michael Wynn. I am the Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.